The Sleeper Mortuary was established in 1886 by Lyman Sleeper, and it operated side by side as a furniture store. Sleeper Mortuary was damaged by a fire in 1902 and then again in 1915, with the latter destroying $20,000 in damages. The business passed down from father to son until it was sold to Ed Porter and Jim Kinzer in 1960, when it became the Porter-Kinzer Mortuary. In 1967, Paul Friskel purchased the mortuary and changed the name to the Friskel-Kinzer Mortuary. It changed hands several times over the next few years, along with several name changes. Once the mortuary ceased operation and the building and contents were sold, it briefly became a building known as Heritage Hall. This was a family-style co-ed living arrangement for college students attending ACCC. Later, it became several different shops, including a flea market. In 2024, it was purchased again and the name given to honor the history of the building as Sleeper Mortuary.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Logan.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is Generation X Paranormal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so we've got a great show, as always. That's
Always.
those things we always say, because it is. They're all great. We happen to go to a very special place. It's a new place, but we went there on a very special day.
Yes, we did.
It was Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah, woo. We dressed kind of in an interesting costume set. We went as a couple, but not like Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy or anything.
No.
We went as a couple, but I was Dr. Emmett Brown, and Nicole was
Marty McFly.
That's right, Great Scott. So no, we were invited by Mike and Sam, of course, and they had a great event out there.
Epic VIP events.
Epic VIP events, and we are going to talk about the Sleeper Mortuary.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yeah, and this place is pretty new as far as
Within the last year.
Within the last year, Tory bought this, but yeah, we had a great time.
We did. It was a lot of fun, and everybody was dressed up. Some of the costumes were pretty hilarious, but a lot of them were like supposed to be 80s themed,
right?
At least for the costume contest. But yeah, and Erica rocked it with her Beetlejuice, and so did Sam was Beetlejuice, and then Mike was.
He was a Jedi. Well, actually, technically, he was
Obi-Wan. Yeah. Obi-Wan.
Which makes perfect sense, by the way, if you know Mike. But and by the way, I'm looking at you too, Maverick. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was cool too.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun costumes, but it was nice. It was like one of their events where you split up and go off in different directions and stuff, and which we'll talk about a little bit later. But super cool, super fun. We got some pictures we're gonna throw up here. Of us taken with some of the people. It was a good time with this group.
Yeah, and that I'll be honest with you, that wig was so much hell to play with. Yeah. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
But first, we are going to talk to the owner of Sleeper Mortuary.
Yeah, Tory Westhoff.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to her. So let's bring her on.
Yes.
Well, hey Tory, welcome to Generation X Paranormal.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited. Typically, we talked a little bit about right before we got started that we kind of run in the same circle. So kind of surprised we haven't run into each other yet. But no, it's good to finally meet you. Before we get started, just kind of let you know we did get a chance to investigate at your place, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that too. But usually we meet the person that we're out or the location, either whether it's the caretaker or whatever, while we're there, but we didn't get a chance to meet you. So it's like we're Tarantinoing this a little bit,
Yeah.
We're putting the horse
cart before
the horse. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that
Or
worked
I
out.
before
was
the
I was
dark.
trick or treating with my little that
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been there too. But
No, that makes perfect sense. I would have done the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, kind of getting started. And I don't know that a lot of people know this about you aside from being an owner of a now known haunted place. I mean, you kind of had this whole thing started for a long time. You've been an investigator. When did you start to realize that the paranormal was something that you're really invested in, that you kind of wanted to spend more time doing it?
ever since I was a kid, really, I think that a vast majority of investigators today, typically their curiosity starts when they're young, as they've had experiences and whatnot, and I'm no exception to that rule, that's for sure. I grew up in a house that I believe was haunted. Now, I will say that nobody really experienced anything in that house but me. But that's kind of where the paranormal for me began, was back when I was a kid, in the house that I grew up in.
Hmm.
So,
Was there something that happened to you that were like, okay, even at that age, you're like, I can't logistically explain this. This is something, that was unique.
yeah. I remember there was a couple of things that stick out in my mind. That is actually where I saw my first shadow person.
Huh.
And I remember, gosh, I want to say I was somewhere between 10 and 14 is what I say. I don't really remember the exact time frame that it occurred
Sure.
in, but
Mhm.
as I was walking to the bathroom, we had like a big great room, and I turned and I looked and I saw a shadow person, and it was so dark that it looked like somebody took the cookie cutter of a person and just stamped it out of the landscape. You couldn't see
Huh.
through it. It was very
Wow.
tall. It was standing in a posture that I would um, how I typically describe it is like when guys are getting, when they're getting upset and they're getting ready to have a physical disagreement, and how they're kind of puffed up.
Mm.
That's like the posture
Yeah.
but like I can say that it never hurt me. It never said anything. It was just standing there like that. And to me, like, as a kid, when I was looking at it, I was like, "Oh, shit." Like,
Yeah,
it
that's
was
scary.
it and it was tall. Gosh, to me, it was it like, my adult brain is, I would say, at least 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall. Like,
Wow.
it was huge. That's the only time that I ever saw it. Although I will say that I was kind of talking to my brother about the house, because the house actually recently came up for sale, and it was
Mm.
sold at auction. I mean, it
Ugh.
was in bad shape, but it was recently sold at auction, and I was talking to my brother about it, and I was telling him about the experiences that I had back then, and he was like, "Well, one time, I was standing there changing." This is back in the push button TV days,
I
Yes.
remember.
like we were the remote.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Um, but he was changing the channel on the TV, and he said he saw a shadow poke its head out of the bedroom and then pull it back in, and that's the only thing he ever saw there. So I'm
Mm.
like, "Thank you for letting me know I'm not crazy," because
Right.
for
Right.
a long time I felt like I was crazy.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I would hear things call my name that weren't there. I remember distinctly one time I was sitting in my bedroom and I heard my mom's car pull up. I heard the door open and shut. I heard footsteps going across the walkway, the front door open and shut. And then I heard my mom yell my name. It sounded like my mom. And I said, "What?" And I didn't hear anything. So I peeked out the window and there was nobody there.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
It's kind of a mimic. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a crazy experience. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I
It's
lived in
interesting.
that house, until mid-teens, probably.
I bet you
So
that was quite a ride. It's funny. So many people. We've been doing this for so many years. You run into a lot of people that just have an experience very similar to that.
Mhm.
Nicole, she was.
I've got lots of from childhood. Yeah, haunted house for sure.
Yeah.
Not a shadow person, but something a lot
Yeah.
scarier than that.
Scary too.
But then even in college, like we lived in this, a bunch of people move into a house to afford it, right?
Mhm.
and tons of experiences in that house. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It shapes you for the rest of your life. You can't
Yeah.
forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've had I mean, I know you have had a lot of experience in the paranormal as far as investigating. I know you've worked with a lot of different people. What what kind of started you down the road of starting to look for a place that was haunted? I know that's been pretty recent for the most part because I
Mhm.
know that you purchased the mortuary, I believe in January of 25, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
What kind of got that started?
So my a lot of my friends, like Stephanie
Mhm.
O'Reilly, she owns McIntyre. Josh
Uh-huh.
Hurd, he owns Malvern Manor.
Uh-huh.
Um, a lot of the people that I associated with, they go every day and they get to be a part of their buildings and all of that stuff. And um, I had been investigating, and I have already written books. I've written 8 books, and, to me, it was just like the next logical thing. It was just the next thing because anybody that knows me knows that I love history. I love preserving stories, and that's basically what my books are about, is I take
Mhm.
a deep dive into paranormal locations, and I find every death that I can find that happened on property, and I document that. And it's in a book that's in alphabetical order by first name. And each person has a page, and every page contains everything that I can find on that person, whether it be obituaries, death certificates, death announcements, find a grave information. Find a grave is actually a really good source of information. A lot of people know it exists, but some people don't.
Mhm.
When I was doing the research for these books, I would pay for the websites for like newspapers.com, Ancestry, all of these things. And then um, what I would do then after I found all the information that I needed to, I would take all the information that I pay to have and I would upload it to their Find a Grave so that if their family's looking for them, they have access to that information for free. So I'll upload their obituaries, death certificates, all of that stuff. And if they don't have a Find a Grave, then I'll create one for them. And I will go through and I will connect all of their family members and all of that kind of thing. So
That's great.
I really love history and I really love stories and preserving people. That's just something that's always been important to me. And I can do that still with the mortuary. And I have
Right.
things in there that have stories, as you've seen.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Um, but even with that particular object, I'm still trying to find information I'm likely never going to find, but
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't hurt to look, and
No,
it's
yeah.
important to me. So the mortuary was kind of just the next step in the whole process, and it's something that I've wanted for a very long time, and I finally got it in January of this year, and I love
So
sharing
cool.
it. I love sharing it. I love talking about it. I love everything about it. So,
I mean, it's an amazing
It
space.
is. It really is, and it was so much bigger inside than I expected it to be because I had only seen pictures of, like, the front,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Okay." And I remember Mike and Sam were like, "It's really big," and I'm like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
it's bigger, but it's not as big, and I was like, "Whoa, this thing just keeps going and
Yeah.
going and going, there's so
yeah.
many floors." So it was really cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
And the other kind of cool aspect about it is, as I've owned the building, people have come forward and have talked about the mortuary. And actually, I just recently found out that, um, like the picture that you guys have up, like
Mhm.
for people watching, that's just the mortuary section of the
Mhm.
building. It's actually a series of connected buildings on the block.
Right. Right.
But Sleeper Furniture and Undertaking was actually originally the entire block. That's how big it was.
Oh,
Oh,
It's just been
wow.
divided up over time into separate businesses. And
Okay.
actually in the main, in that I call it the large living room. You guys know which
mhm.
one I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
Behind that fireplace is a
Mhm.
door that goes to the other side because it was all connected at one point in time.
Oh,
That
okay.
was warehouse space for Sleeper Furniture.
Oh,
Just
wow.
wow, that would have
Yeah.
been
Cool.
that's enormous amount
Yeah.
of space
Mm.
there.
Isn't it interesting? We actually have a place here that we live locally that was, it's a mortuary morgue
Right.
now,
Morgue, yeah.
but early when it was like first started, that they separated it with a furniture store
Mm-hmm.
and undertaking company. So when you said that, I'm like, that just must have been the thing in
It
that time
was.
period. It's really interesting to
It was.
that's a
Because a
weird
lot
thing to
of a
combine.
lot of the people that own the furniture stores were furniture
Mhm.
makers. So they would basically double dip, and they
Okay.
would do the undertaking side because then they would make their caskets and they would make money off of the caskets as well.
Well, that makes
So
perfect sense.
it was
Smart.
actually a pretty common practice for furniture
Mhm.
makers to be furniture stores and undertakers at the same
Mm.
time.
Yeah, that was a new thing that I had learned. That's
Mhm.
interesting, but it makes total sense.
No
Yep.
kidding.
Mhm.
Being an author and knowing how to frame a story and how to frame everything and being an investigator, now that you're an owner, do you find that it kind of has changed you as an investigator and kind of what you expect and kind of what you do when you go out and you investigate yourself?
Yes. Yes, it definitely has. And one of the most interesting things that I have found during ownership is how much everything changes.
Mhm.
And you hear often from other investigators that they'll go to a place and they're like, oh, that nothing happened. It's not haunted. Or,
Mhm.
dang, it was lit and it scared me out of there. I had to leave, 15 minutes after getting there because it was so scary and so active. Um, and then, the experiences also talking with other investigators, they're like, oh, well, this and this happened to me, at McIntyre. And then other people are like, oh, that never happened, but this and this happened. I will tell you that as an owner, I've gotten the pleasure of seeing it morph, so to speak.
Mhm.
I don't know if you would call that growth. I don't know if you would call that change. I'm not sure what you would call it. But what I can tell you is that the activity that happened in January, when I bought it, the amount of activity and the type of activity that we got is not the same activity and the amount of activity that we get today. It's so weird.
Interesting. Can you unpack
It's
that a little bit?
changed.
Because I'm really curious about
Is
that.
it just
Do
like
what?
has it
Yeah, has
increased?
it increased? Can you kind of, sort of unpack that a little bit? Because that's interesting.
So when I first got the mortuary, a lot of EVPs, and I'm talking like grade A, amazing EVPs we would get.
Huh.
As far as like equipment, it was almost like
Mhm.
there was a learning curve. It was a learning
Okay.
curve on us teaching them how to do it and them figuring out how to do it based off of either what we say. Now, whether or not they hear what we say, I don't know, but
Right.
it was just a learning curve on both sides, for
Uh-huh.
or at least that's the way that I take it. They had, and it was kind of a game because investigators would come in and like the REM pod, for example, they would set REM pods off for other people on command, but they would never do it for me, like for
Huh.
months. Like I would try to get a REM pod. Nope, it's just not
That's
happening. It's just not
weird.
happening. And then all of a sudden one day, they started setting REM pods off for me.
Hmm.
The areas of the building of activity has changed since I've opened up the basement. The basement seems to kind of be a little bit of a hot spot down there.
Mm.
Yes,
I
it is.
very much agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
um, and like we've had more, I'm not going to say aggressive. I wouldn't call it aggressive. I would call it crabby. We've
Sure.
had more crabbiness come through than we used to. It used to be like they were excited, it seemed.
Mhm.
Very interactive, very talkative. Disembodied voices are a big thing there. That's not really changed over the course of since I've had it in January. Um, I would say that they happened more frequently in the beginning than they do now, but they're still very, very, very frequent, disembodied voices. But we tend to have like something that's a little crabby that doesn't want you around. It'll tell you to leave and to get out. But I also think that's kind of a standard, and sometimes I wonder if they're just sick of our crap. Like,
Agreed. Like, you've had a
you
bunch
know?
of investigators in there now, and they're like, "Oh, it's hard of answering these questions."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder if they're just annoyed at
Mhm.
us for, I was like, golly, I just did this last night, or
Right.
Right.
man, it's interesting. It's interesting to see it all morph. I did see a shadow person in there for the first time. Now,
Mm.
the previous owner reported a shadow person almost on a nightly basis up on the second floor.
Huh.
And he would see it in the big living room when he was sitting in the small living room where the Oddfellows
Okay.
casket is.
Yeah.
He would see it down the hallway, and he would see it cross the hallway, which is one of the main reasons I have those 2 cameras up there, is because 'cause I'm trying to catch
Mhm.
it, but I never
Gotcha.
have.
Hmm.
But I did see it. There was a night where I stopped. I'm an agency nurse, so I was traveling, to go to work, and I was swinging by the mortuary to get the things done that I needed to get done, for the group that was coming in, and then I was off to work, and I left my glasses up on the countertop, in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and I came down to my car, and I went to put my glasses on. I was like, "Oh, I forgot them." And so I immediately opened up the garage door again, and when I walked into the garage door, it was a palpable difference. Like, I knew something was going to happen. I could feel it.
Mhm.
The air was thick. It was equivalent to when you're a kid and you're flipping off the light and you're running for your life and diving
Yes.
into your bed because something might get you between the light switch and your bed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
That was
scary
very
energy feeling. Yeah.
yeah,
Know that feeling.
Mhm. Mhm.
it was very much that kind of feeling, and when I walked up, um and it's kind of hard to explain, but, like, the small li or the large living room, when you're looking down into the small living room, the big windows,
Yep.
Yes.
those
Mhm.
curtains were open, so it was all backlit, from the light outside, and when I crossed the hallway, this figure was so big. It touched, like, the top of that drop ceiling in the hallway.
Yep.
It
Wow.
had a brimmed hat on. It was like a short brimmed hat. You could
Interesting.
Hmm.
distinctly see, you could see the hat, and then you could see, like, the cheeks and the chin and the neck and the shoulders and individual arms that were down by his side, but his bottom half looked like a blob, like, you couldn't
Mm.
see individual legs.
Wow.
Um, I saw it for a split second, and then I ran like a track star, and I
I'm
left.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
something I always
I
tell
was
people.
done.
Yep.
I
I'm
don't
like, "I'm
blame
going
you.
home."
Yep.
Like, I'm done.
A lot of
Um,
people that ask us about paranormal
Just
activity
assume
and
we never get
oh yeah, we
scared,
don't get
but
scared. I trust me, we get scared
yes.
all the frickin'
mhm,
time.
mhm.
It's just we don't
Yep.
run. We try to stay as much as we
Well, we
can.
sometimes run.
Uh,
We sometimes
Mom
do.
just did this last weekend. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so if you wouldn't mind, kind of real quick, a history. What was it about this place? 'Cause I know you, and talking with you or knowing what you went through in the process. What happened? How did this place speak to you, and how did you finally become the caretaker and the owner?
So, I've been looking for quite a while. I would say probably about 5 years or so. I had been looking for a location, and as you can imagine, there's only a small handful of properties that
Mhm.
would
Right.
fit,
Right.
what I'm looking for. And when I saw this building, it was actually advertised as a residence, like a residential home. And
Really?
there was actually on the listing, there was no pictures of the first floor other than the large casket room, and it was taken from, like, the flower room up there. So
Mhm.
you couldn't really tell what it was,
Right.
Okay.
but that was the only picture of the downstairs that I had seen. And when I saw the front of the building, you can see, like, the big cement pots and then, like, the bench, and I was
Uh-huh.
like,
Uh-huh.
"Man, that's very reminiscent of a funeral home that we have here in town." So, me being the nerd that I am, I researched the address, and it did indeed turn out to be an old funeral home.
Hmm.
So, then I immediately text Stephanie, and I'm like, "Girl, like, we gotta go look at this." Stephanie O'Reilly was my realtor. I definitely don't make that, a secret, and it's actually the best of both worlds because you have a realtor that's also a location owner, and she's also
Absolutely.
a ghost hunter, and we would
Yes.
walk in with
Mhm.
our bag of goodies, and we would investigate, and see what we could find in an hour's time. And
That's
then
cool.
that had been the process that we had. See what we could find in an hour's time, and then I would base my decision off of that. Is that something I wanted to move forward with? Is this a maybe? Like, where are we sitting with this property?
Mhm.
But the seller's realtor was also on site. Um, and he was walking us around because at the time in the building there was an elevator, and it was more of a safety thing because
Mhm.
he didn't want anybody getting on the elevator, and
Sure.
the building is big, like it's very
Yeah.
big. And so we were standing in the large casket room, and I heard a disembodied voice. It was like, I call it a scream whisper. It's where somebody is like yelling, but in a
Mhm.
whisper tone. And I
Yes.
couldn't understand anything that it was saying. It just sounded like a bunch of gibberish. It was
Mm.
so loud. And I turned and I looked at Stephanie, and she was looking at me. My kiddo was also with me, and she was also looking at me. And then we all look at the seller's realtor, and he goes, "Well, I don't know who would be here. We're
Mm.
supposed to be the only ones in the building." And he walked away looking for the person in the building. And
Wow.
that is basically what I placed my offer on.
That's
That right
awesome.
there. That's
I
it.
love
That's
that.
about as point positive as I think as you can get.
Yeah. And how great is that to have a realtor that will investigate with you?
No.
I mean, she's fabulous, by the way. We love her to death, but yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, she was
I definitely highly recommend her if anybody's looking. She worked hard for me,
Yes.
Yeah,
and
for
we got it
sure.
done.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, between those 2 locations, that makes sense because I know that's not too terribly far from each other, McIntyre and your location.
Mm-mm.
That's not too terribly bad.
Mhm.
We're
So,
like 2.5 hours apart.
Yeah.
yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I think that was
No,
about what we
no.
drove to get there too. So,
Mhm.
yeah, not too bad. So, okay, now you've got this property, and now you're kind of putting everything together. Um, Having done this as long as we have, we know that it's not an overnight thing and it takes a lot of time and effort. Um, and as memory serves, and I think we knew about this going in, that the stairs were put in afterwards because you took out the elevator, if I remember correctly, because that's
Mhm.
what we were told when we were there.
Yep.
Um, Aside from that, what changes have you made?
I've basically left it the way that I have found it.
Okay.
I think that it's important.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like this is what I walked into, and you get to experience the same thing. And I've changed very little. The elevator was a safety issue.
Yeah.
It had to happen.
Sure.
So when I took the elevator out and put the stairs in, to make it accessible to go downstairs, because I'll tell you, me and Stephanie got stuck on the elevator the first day that I owned
No.
that damn place.
No.
Oh no.
Shit.
The
That's
the
scary.
previous owner had to come and bail us out.
Oh
So,
Oh
man. That's
yeah,
man.
yeah.
nothing like getting stuck in an elevator of a place that you know is haunted.
Yeah.
You're like,
Well,
okay, well,
and not only that, but with the way the elevator was, the freight elevator, when you go down, if it gets stuck, the reset button is clear up on the second
oh
floor
my gosh.
and
Yeah.
at the top of
Mhm.
the elevator shaft. So if everybody's downstairs, like you're just down there, like
Right, yeah. You're
until
not
somebody can come
comfortable.
get you
This is
out.
where we live now. This is
Yeah,
us now.
we're just gonna hang out with all of them, I guess. Have a
Oh
good
my
time.
gosh.
But I've done some work. I put a new floor in the front foyer area because that was cement board, and I
Uh,
didn't want it to get ruined, so I put a new floor in there. I've done the framing on the front door where the key coded lock is, the where people come in and out.
Mhm.
The frame was dry rotted, and
mm,
like the window glass was falling out.
oh yeah.
And so I hired somebody to redo all of that. So the frame and like the framing and the windows are back where they're supposed to be. But really outside of that, I haven't really done a whole lot as far as changes. I won't change the layout. It's basically just basically keeping it in a state that can still be appreciated, but still old
Yep.
and safe.
Right. Yeah.
Which is great because it does really kind of lend itself to the the visuals and the feels. Because when you walk in there, you get the sense that there's so much history in there,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just depending on how you feel about things when you go into buildings. I mean, you can just feel the energy and the still that when you're there, you're like, okay. Because anybody who's investigator, or even if you haven't, when you walk into a place that there's some other stuff going on, you feel it. There's something that
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't need to be, a major psychic or anything to know when you walk in somewhere. It's part of our
Mm-hmm.
kind of our fight or flight kind of feeling. Something's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are the
Yeah.
caskets in the building, are they from the original building, or did you bring those in from somewhere else?
They're original except for the
Okay.
Oddfellows casket.
Okay.
The child's casket, down in the chapel,
Mhm.
that was actually found in the basement, and
Okay.
that is original to the building. And the research on it that I did, it shows that it's a Spanish flu era casket, so that would
Oh,
have been about
Wow.
1918 to 1920.
Interesting.
And it's a child's casket. And
Mhm.
then
Mm.
the one that's on the casket stand upstairs that's opposite of the Oddfellows casket, that's actually a shipping container. It's not a casket. That's what they used to
Okay.
ship the caskets in, but I thought it was a really good example of,
Yeah.
just kind of how the process works. But yeah, that's what they would ship the caskets in whenever they
Huh.
would get shipments. And I thought it was kind of neat that even the shipping containers had fancy handles on them.
I know,
Like,
right? They did
you know,
everything right back then, didn't
Yeah.
they?
right. They
Now
didn't cut corners.
No, they did not.
Um,
nowadays it would just be the best Temu version you could get of it, and they'd send it out
yeah,
to you.
Yes, they
yeah.
were.
So,
And then the Oddfellows casket is not original. That came out of Iowa. And
okay.
then that's it as far as furniture. I did have a buddy of mine named Mike Brothers that found a piece of sleeper furniture. It's not
Oh,
furniture,
wow.
it's a box, and it's now on
Mhm.
display up
Oh,
on
cool.
the wall shelves in the big living room, but he did
Oh,
find a
very
sleeper
cool.
piece. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
cool. I know I was looking at all that stuff that's up by the fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I took some pictures because
Yeah.
you miss stuff. Like, I just stood there and stared at everything for a while. It was really cool.
Yeah. And
So
I love oddities and things
yeah.
that you just don't really get to see. I have a platform that I can educate people on death, dying, weird things. Then I mean, I don't see any reason why not.
Right.
Just things that people wouldn't normally see, like in an everyday setting. The
Yeah.
Oddfellows casket is not something that you would normally see somewhere,
No.
especially one like that, because that
Mm.
one's kind of an exception
Mhm.
because the story surrounding it is not typical. That's not a
Mhm.
typical story. So,
Yeah, what a great platform to do that with. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a lot of different places that you can make that attempt to, but when you have legitimately a mortuary or you've got basically everything at the end of life there. So you have an opportunity to kind of show people, okay, is it scary? Yeah, granted, we know that it's kind of a fate we're all going to wrestle with at some point, but
yeah.
maybe by doing that, you kind of dispel a little bit of the not knowing, and maybe it just makes it a little bit easier. I'm not sure, but it's great. I'll tell you one thing it sure does is it sure adds to the feeling of what
Yes,
you're
it
doing.
does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
They I've had a lot of it's kind of mixed reviews. One of the EVPs that I have gotten at the mortuary on the security camera that's on my TikTok is 30 minutes after I set up the Oddfellows casket where it
Ooh.
sits today. I heard there was a woman singing and she sang some oohs and she said I love you on
Hmm.
the security camera. Now I heard it with my ears, but when I looked around, nobody else acknowledged it, so I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe I'm hearing stuff." Because after a while, sometimes you kinda gaslight yourself and you think
Yep.
you hear
Yeah.
things when you don't.
Yes, you
So
do.
I kinda thought that's what was happening, so I looked back on the security camera, and I did catch that.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm very, open with the fact that I have the casket, and I've posted videos of it on TikTok, and I've had kind of mixed reviews. People think it's disrespectful. I've had that. But also with that, with that view, they have a preconceived notion that that casket was buried and then dug
Right.
back up, and that is not the case.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
case. That was
Yeah.
never buried. It was never meant for burial. It was meant for more of a ceremonial aspect of the Oddfellows,
Hmm.
and they typically didn't have human bodies, whole human bodies. They typically had skeletons. I'm not sure why this one had a fully intact human in it. But the story of her is posted on the mortuary. Um, I wish it was a joke. You know what I mean? I wish it was because nobody deserves that.
Mm.
But if I can use it to educate and tell her story, then I feel like that's a good thing. I don't see how that would ever be a bad thing.
It's kind of amazing how in our community the things that we say, oh yeah, this is acceptable, but this isn't. It's like,
I know. No, you're never gonna please everyone.
and they're like,
Everybody's gonna have an
Mhm.
opinion on things, so you just gotta do you and
yeah.
do what
Yeah.
you think is right.
And I think you're doing it perfectly. You're being respectful
Thank
of
you.
it.
Yes.
You're showing it in a much more open and honest way, as opposed to,
Yeah.
if you were to throw like a plastic skeleton in it and then do all these other things where you're just like, it becomes a caricature of what it really is. And then it becomes a little bit kind of tongue in cheek, but I think the way you have it done is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, Now, speaking of having a lot of different people come in, so you've had it now for what, almost 12 months, almost a full year now.
Almost.
What, so you've had how many? You've probably had quite a few teams come in. W- What have you seen? Like, what's been the holy shit? I can't believe they caught that moment that you've seen so far. You're like, okay, wasn't expecting that, but holy crap, that's wild.
Um, there was a group there that caught a photograph up. They were in the main, the big living room, and
Uh-huh.
this would have been the corner where the hallway comes to that smaller hallway that goes down the big staircase. So, like right
Hmm.
by that office
Okay.
door. So, it would have been in that area there. And it's the way that the picture was taken was that I'm digging it up for you right now, actually. The way that the picture was taken was that it was by accident. She almost dropped her phone and the picture just took.
Huh.
Um, it wasn't it wasn't a planned photograph, but she said nobody in their group was wearing white, and they were not. I looked at the security camera, they were not. But this is the picture that they caught.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So there is no humans in this picture.
Huh.
And you can see the head, shoulders,
Yes,
and
you
everything.
can.
And
Huh.
it's almost like it was moving super fast because
Right.
those are all like
Like
I don't
segments.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't explain it. But
It's like the
Mhm.
Flash. The old Flash series, you
Yeah.
see, like,
Uh-huh.
different up to
yeah.
get yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, that's like motion, that's a motion blur.
So
Hmm.
interesting.
It makes me wonder because, like whenever you are taking a photo and somebody's in motion, sometimes it's like blurry or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
And so I wonder if it's just moving so fast that that's just the way that the camera took it was in
Captured it.
that
Right.
particular moment in time.
Especially because
And
it's a
it's all
phone, it's digital, so it takes
Yeah.
yeah,
seconds of things.
Hmm.
yeah.
Wow.
That's
So
interesting.
I would say that was one of the more interesting pieces that I've been shown so far.
For sure.
That's really cool.
So, you've had some teams in there, and that is amazing evidence, I'm with you, that is definitely one of those where those pictures. I mean, we've seen a lot of different things, and it's about as full body as
It's
think
a
you're
good
gonna
one.
get.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Um, but what is sort of every location has like this, okay, you're not gonna do well with X type of investigation, just to kinda help people that are going there. And I know there's a lot of people that have different ways of investigating. I'm not trying to knock that in any way, shape, or form, but you don't go into certain locations kind of provoking, or you don't go into certain locations sort of kind of tipping your hat one way or the other. What works there? What do you think is a good practice for people there?
I honestly, I don't really have any rules, per se. I The cool part about the mortuary is that we're still learning, and we're still
Uh-huh.
not going to know even a lot of information even a year from now.
Sure.
I
Mhm.
think that I don't know that there's any one particular thing that works better than the other because we still don't really know what we have there. So,
Right.
Right.
my best advice is just to do it and, you know, investigate how you investigate, and that may elicit a response that we normally wouldn't have gotten by and I'm not saying go in there and provoke and do all of those things.
Right.
Every team, every person has a different method to their madness. How I
Yes, they do.
investigate isn't necessarily how someone else investigates, and I'm not even saying it's wrong.
Right.
Like, but I think that as paranormal investigators in this whole vast community that we all have something equally as important to bring to the day table,
Mhm.
and bring it to the table and see what happens. I mean, worst case scenario, nothing happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just bring it to the table and see because I don't know what they like. I don't know what the best method is.
Mhm.
We've never gotten anything that was that we could reproduce.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I've heard full disembodied sentences there that I've
Wow.
caught on recorder that I heard with my own ears, but not everybody gets that. So
Right.
I don't know what the antecedent is. So I've not been able to reproduce it. All I can do is pass the stories and hopefully, I'm all about people thinking outside the box and just doing
Sure.
what they do and
Mhm.
see what happens.
I can
Yeah.
tell you from my experience, and I know that may not be for everyone, but they don't seem to care much for men. We it was interesting. We split up between two parties, as Nicole was saying, where it was her party that had all females, and then it was us with the men, and it just did not really want to react. I will say in the basement we did have a little bit. I think that was somewhere
Yeah, the
I think all of us had some experience.
basement.
Um,
Yeah,
but for the
it's been
males,
lived.
it wasn't as
Yes.
active as I expected. I will say in the basement, there's those, and I don't know if that's exactly what they are or not, but there's kind of like shelves that almost look like where a casket would sit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I was leaning up against that, and we did an EVP session with the DR60, and we definitely had stuff come through. Now we really couldn't make out everything, but sort of in that back corner on the other side, we did see a shadow figure. All of us sort of saw it in the dark. It was really quick. But that was about the most that we experienced down there. And as for the men, that's kind of all we got. But I know with
Yeah,
the
we got
girls,
a bunch of stuff. We saw shadow figures too, but Sam took a picture of the area where we were, but I was happened to be standing in front, and something weird happened over the top of me. She took several pictures in a row, and it's like something was standing in front of me and kind of like, I don't know, morphed into what looked kind of like a man, and then you see it kind of like dissolve. Is really weird, but it just made me kind of like, I don't know, like you'd smear paint.
Mhm.
That's kinda how I looked behind it.
hmm,
It was really odd,
yeah,
really odd.
Yeah.
we didn't get so much fun.
But it
Now,
was
like one of the common things that I have heard with my own ears down in the basement, and other people have heard it too, is the weeping woman.
Uh,
There is
mm,
a very distinct female down there that cries,
mm,
and it's very loud. It's very audible. Um, Josh Hurd was down for an event because we were doing a duo event back in, I think it was September, and we were down in the basement sitting, over by the urn display. So in that back when you walk down the store this excuse me, when you walk down the stairs, it's in that back corner on the left side over by the urn display past, like, the casket rollers, because
okay,
that shelf actually was where they kept their stock, like, their caskets that they have for sale.
okay,
The brand new ones that were not on display up in the large casket room, that's where they would keep those caskets is down there.
sure.
And, so we were sitting in that back corner and it was incredibly loud and I would say you heard it for a good second or 2.
Um,
I turned and looked at him. He's like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Yeah, like this is what people hear." So there's a very prominent female downstairs. I just call her the weeping woman. I don't know anything about her. I don't know her name. You don't seem to get like interaction from her per se, just
Mhm.
really
hmm,
just the weeping sound that you hear.
maybe
So it very
residual.
well, yeah, it very well
Yeah.
could be residual, but I
Mhm.
mean,
Tori, your background's so amazing. Again, you've been you're an investigator, a lot of these different things. Now, one thing we share in common, I was an army medic and you're a nurse. Do you find that that kind of having that analytical kind of algorithmic thinking, because that's kind of what we do when you come to triage and you do certain things. It's
mm,
this or that, it's an all an algorithm. Do you find that does that help you in investigating? And do you find that, especially with the sleeper mortuary, do you find yourself doing it there? Do you find yourself triaging certain things? Do you find, um, with each haunting, I kind of do that. I triage, okay, this particular entity is very, very vocal. So you almost want to figure out what is it that's causing that. And you almost want to treat the entity. Do you find yourself doing
yeah.
that?
Um, Sometimes, I try to take a very logical approach to some of the
Mhm.
things I'm hearing, and I try to think I try to think outside the box about, like, what it is exactly that I'm hearing, but I think that my, like, bedside manner really comes out because I'm very compassionate and I wanna know
Right.
what's wrong and can I help you fix it and what can I do? Like, I will sit and talk to the spirits quite often. I've sat downstairs and talked to the weeping woman on more than one occasion and told her that I was sorry that she was sad and if there was anything that I could do that would help her, um move forward past where she is. Like, that is also one thing about me too. If my spirits can move on, I say mine like I'm
Well, I
possessing them
mean,
and I'm
truth
not.
be
But
told,
uh,
kind of. I mean,
You're
you're definitely their
the
caretaker.
caretaker, yeah.
I like taking care of them, but if my spirits can move forward and whatever it is that spirits move forward to from this plane of existence, then I
Mhm.
want them to do that. I wouldn't want anybody to be trapped somewhere they don't want to be. I wouldn't want that for my
Absolutely.
family for sure.
Right.
So, I'm very open to, my spirits moving forward to their next step in the universe, whatever that is for them.
Mhm.
So I don't know if she's stuck. I don't know if she's choosing to be here. I don't know if it's residual. I have no idea.
Right.
But I talked to all of them. Like they're just people that are
Mhm.
What?
here. And um, but yeah, I think that's kind of like where my nursing comes in is being. I want to help them. I want
Sure.
them to find peace, and I don't want them to be sad or angry or hurt or any of those things. Um, but yeah.
That's fantastic. We go to some places where you sign waivers, and the one thing they sometimes they'll say, it's okay if you want to pray, it's okay if you want to do these things here, but please don't, basically don't get rid of our ghost. It's always like,
Yeah, and I'm like,
what?
"Why do you" yeah.
For
There's
me,
plenty to go
like,
around.
if they need to move on, move them on.
Yes,
Move them
Right.
on. Please
agreed.
do.
Yeah.
I don't want them stuck there. I don't.
Right.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't want that for anybody.
We're
That
just
would
not like
be
a circus
terrible.
at that point, hey, come see our.
Well, and I also feel like we know this, that a lot of these places, once investigators start going and going and going, it becomes like a beacon for other spirits that may not have been attached to the place. Somehow they know
Yeah.
where we are, and so they come to the place. So you're never gonna be without spirits at a place that tons of investigators are going to.
And you know what? Maybe they'll just come back to visit every now and again, and
Sure.
that's okay
Exactly.
too. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
whatever it is, whatever that looks like. I don't. I would like to think that the way that eternity works or the universe works is that once we get to where we're meant to be, whatever that is, whatever you want to call it, whether it's heaven or another realm or whatever, that we are then able to come back and see the people that we love and see the people that have made an impact in our life or have changed our lives for the better or enriched it, to visit
Mhm.
family or whatever that looks like. So even if a spirit is moved on, I'd like to think that maybe they would come back and say hi every now and again. And,
Absolutely.
I'm okay with that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. I'm okay if they don't ever want to come back again. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
like I get it.
Mhm.
I mean,
Totally agree.
I get it.
They were
So,
human.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
most
it's the stuck ones, the ones that ask for help, or the
Mhm.
ones that
Yeah.
we need to deal with. Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's get a quick rundown of the known or at least reported entities there. And then, you mentioned the weeping woman in the basement, and we know of a couple. But if you want to go ahead and just so our listeners know, or anybody that's going to go there kind of has an idea what could be there.
So we have a spirit downstairs in the coal chute. His name is Carl. He has come through quite frequently. And just from bits and pieces through evidence that like EVPs and all of the things, we've determined that Carl was illiterate and he
Mm.
worked under Lyman, which is kind of weird because Lyman has never stepped foot in that building. He's never been in there. He died before that building was built.
Interesting.
The original structure he built in 1886, and it was called Lyman Furniture or Sleeper Furniture and Undertaking. And that burnt down in January of 1915, and he died in August of 1915. That
Oh,
building
okay.
was not built until 1925.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So he never stepped foot in that building. So, but I will say that it is built in the same exact location that the previous building sat on. So
Okay.
maybe there's something to that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
brilliant.
Yeah, so there's Carl downstairs, and he liked to smoke cigarettes. I'm sure there's cigarettes down there. There was the last time I was down there. People giving Carl cigarettes.
Yep.
Lyman has come through a handful of times through there, and I do believe that he is definitely roaming about. Eliza is Eliza Sleeper, which would be Lyman's wife. Also, I don't think she's ever been in that building. She died in 1922, and she died at the home of her daughter in Washington State. I'm not sure when
Okay.
she moved there. If I had to guess, she probably moved there shortly after Lyman's passing.
Yeah.
Attila was one of her children. It was her daughter. So she is prominent in the flower room, and she is one of my favorites. She is so tender and she is so kind, and like the feeling that you get when you're interacting with her is just amazing. It's like that grandma, cuddly,
Hmm.
kind, sweet old lady. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, The flower room is actually where they used to arrange flowers, and a lot of people talk to Eliza about arranging flowers, me included. I don't think she ever did that, but it appears that she likes to do that in the afterlife, so I facilitate that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
there's flowers up there, and I encourage people to bring flowers as long as they're not living because I'm not there every day to
Sure.
Right.
take them out and make sure that they're not, making a mess up there. But
Mm-hmm.
then we have a shadow figure on the second floor that I've actually seen with my eyes. That scared me. Um, I don't. That's the only time I've ever seen him, but he has been reported a couple of times upstairs. Um, there is a female that you can hear on the second floor. There's a female on all floors, really, but I don't know if it's the same one or different ones.
Right.
And I have no name attached to any of them other than Eliza. Um, and then I think that's really about it. Now, I will say that there are a lot of names that come through Spirit Box.
Yep.
To date, I have record of 2,700 funerals in Mayan states that took place in that building.
Wow.
That is an
So,
outrageous amount of well, I mean, that's its purpose. But
yeah,
good Lord, that's a lot.
it is.
Wow.
And those are only the ones that I can prove and only the ones that were published because I rely on digitized newspapers to
Uh-huh.
come up with that number. But yes, there's 2,700 funerals in Mayan states that I can absolutely prove that happened in that building.
That is
Wow.
So there is a plethora of names that come through
sure.
in the
Sure.
for the building. So I can't think of any other ones that are very, very prominent. I think John Sleeper has come through a couple of times, not for me, but for other people. I think people have said that John Sleeper has come through, and AR Sleeper or Alan Sleeper has come through as well.
Hmm.
That's
Well,
interesting.
yeah, that's quite a cast. I mean, that's a lot of them too. Yeah.
What year did the building close? Like, did the funeral home close?
It operated as a funeral home all the way up until 1998.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
God, that's a
Yeah,
long.
so
That is a long time. Yeah.
or I'm mistaken. I told you 1925. That building was built in 1920.
Okay.
Still,
Um,
that's
yeah,
That's a long
burned down in
time.
1915, built in 1920.
Okay.
jeez.
And then AR Sleeper, which is Lyman's son, Alan is his proper name.
Mhm.
He ran it all the way up until 1958. And then he passed away. He was an old man and he passed away, and his son, John Sleeper, took over the family business at that point. And John ran it until 1960, and he was on his way home from transporting a body to Kansas City. He fell asleep at the wheel and he passed
Mm.
away in that accident.
Oh,
So that's
So
when you see it change from Sleeper Mortuary to Porter Kinzer, because they bought it from the Sleeper estate.
okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. What an
Yeah,
awful
and
accident to report too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like transporting a
oh,
body already and then that's terrible.
it is.
Mm.
And like one of the most earth-shattering stories that I've heard was also a previous owner, Pat and Paul Friskel. Patricia was her name. So Paul and Patricia Friskel. They bought it, I want to say in the 1960s at some point, 1970s. They bought it from Porter Kinzer. And it became Friskel Memorial Chapel. Um, or Driscoll Funeral Home, as it was also called. Um, they ran that building, and they were Paul Friskel was the owner when it closed. He had merged with another funeral home in the city, but ultimately, when it closed in 1998, Paul Friskel was the owner of that
Okay.
property. In the late 1980s, Paul Friskel and his wife Patricia lost their 2 kids and 5 grandchildren in a train versus car accident. They all died
Jeez.
that day.
Oh my gosh.
It
Oh.
was 4 or 5 grandkids. I can't remember off the top
Oh.
of my head without looking. I don't tell that story very often because I don't want to be disrespectful to the family, because there
Sure.
is still family that live in this
Yeah.
area.
Absolutely.
And I don't ever want anyone to feel like I'm trying to capitalize off of a tragedy, because
Right.
that's definitely
Right.
not the case. But
Yeah.
I also preservation is also
Mhm.
a big thing
Yeah,
for me.
of
And
course.
they were part of the story of that building. And
Mhm.
as a mom, my heart aches for
Yeah.
them. That would be absolutely awful. And I don't know. There are stronger people than me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Me too.
that to happen.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't even know
And
how you would
sometimes I wonder if
deal with
that's the
that.
weeping woman in the basement.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought. It's funny you
The
say.
energy would be tied to that.
I had actually
It's
thought
not
the same thing.
even if it's residual, like just maybe that's where she went to cry.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Tori, kind of in closing, we've had some other people on that own haunted places. I think we spoke to some people that own the Doss House and a few other
Mm.
places, and of course, Ozark Morgue here. And this is one of those things I like to ask because I find it fascinating. One, I always ask what made you get in. We kind of talked about that, but the other one is, do you feel like you chose the building, or do you sometimes feel like maybe it chose you?
I think
Because
the
I think,
building chose me.
yeah,
100%. When people say that, and when owners say that, I get what they mean now.
mhm,
Mhm.
The other thing that I will tell you that's part of that story is, prior to me becoming a nurse, I worked on EMS, and I worked in Crawford County, Kansas, for the EMS service there. And my boss, um, my boss at the time of hire, his father was the director, and he had taken his father's spot because his father was running a call with a kiddo, and he ended up having a massive MI, and he passed away during that call. But the kiddo that he was working on was one of their first school kiddos.
Oh.
And then my boss, when I bought that building, is married to his grandson.
Wow.
Wow, talk about
And
full
I live
circle.
over an hour away from the
Jeez.
mortuary.
That meant to be.
That's
Absolutely meant to
amazing,
be.
yeah.
That's really cool to have that.
And you're not the only one that said that. Everybody that we talked to, that we've spoken to, it almost ends up being that the building kind of chooses
Mhm.
who they want as a caretaker. And
Yeah.
I always find that very interesting because you think about it as just brick and mortar, but you realize that that's still earth elements. There's still
Yeah.
something with that.
There's
But
a reason. Yeah.
yeah.
I love that.
I definitely see
absolutely
what
love
they
that.
mean.
Yeah.
Definitely see what they mean.
Well, even talking like to Ashley at Ashmore Estates, she even feels like, I mean, she may not have been there at the beginning when it was purchased, but there's a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Tori, look,
And I think energy changes over time too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
energy changes over time. So, like if it was ever meant for me to sell that and move on, I have no doubt that the next person that would own it would the building would choose
Yeah.
the person. I just really think that's how it goes. I don't think
100%.
it's our choice, really.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It sat there, right? And nobody had purchased it. And it literally spoke to you.
Yes,
So,
it did.
so yeah, I,
And here's a really deep question. How do we know that the universe, when I was born, that this wasn't always meant to happen and that my life path took me the way that it did so that I ended up intersecting with this building and being where I am today?
100%. Yeah.
yeah, we're
100%.
big believers in
Very big believers in that.
listening to what the universe, because you don't know. You just don't know.
Mhm.
Like I had a completely different life before where we're at today.
Me too.
I had a traumatic brain injury, which caused me to feel things a little bit differently. And then we started this, gosh, I don't know how many years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you don't know what track you're on until you're on the track, and then you get to where.
But then it all makes sense. You think back on like all the little stepping stones that got you to that place, and you're like, yeah, it was building to get us to this point. So
Yeah. Real quick, the first thing I ever purchased this woman when we were dating, now we've been married almost 20 years now. So the very first thing I ever purchased her was a DVD compilation of Unsolved Mysteries Ghosts.
Yep.
This was
I
before
love
we
it.
ever got on this track. So, I mean, that just tells you,
yeah.
you just never know, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
God, I
Tori,
love it.
God, we could probably talk
For a very long
very long time, but we want to make sure that, and of course, we'd love to have you back, and we really want to go there and do a full investigation on our own at some point. So,
Yeah.
but other than that, we really appreciate your time, and we can't wait to kind of see where the next year takes and the year beyond that, because the more people get a chance to investigate it, you're right that the energy and the different things that flow through it, it's going to kind of develop things kind of suss out a little bit differently. They show up a little bit differently for everybody.
Yeah.
But I know you've had a lot of people come through, and it's getting its due, its deserved attention, which is great. And we wish you nothing but success going on. That's going to be awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
definitely appreciate it. And thank you guys for having me. I always love talking about it and I love sharing it. And also, officially, you guys are part of Sleeper Mortuary history because
Yeah.
you shared experiences there.
Yes, we
And
did.
so thank you for being a part of it. Thank you
We're
for
honored.
being a part
yeah,
of
we are.
the bigger puzzle and the bigger picture. So now you guys get to be a part of it too.
We're honored to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, Tori, thank you so much, and we'll look
Thank
forward to
you.
talking to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Tori. Thanks for
Yeah.
stopping
Thank you,
by.
Tori.
Yeah, she was a lot of fun to talk
Mhm.
to, and it was cool. She had this like if you guys are watching it, she was in candlelight and everything. It wasn't just the video having some fun with you. She was actually in some very mood lighting. No, it was a lot of fun to talk to her. A lot of that stuff, we knew a little bit of the history, but not enough because when we did the event, Mike at least told us some of the stuff in the
Yeah.
history. So, but no, it was good to hear it straight from Tory. But yeah, what a great conversation.
And I always find it interesting how these people find these locations, like what draws them to them. I mean, I get it. There's certain places that I would love to own,
Yeah,
but people usually swoop down and get them before I can. But
or just have bags of money that just don't
that's usually the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't have the bags of money. But I want to know that feeling of it calling to you. 'Cause
Yeah,
there's certain locations as far as investigating that call to me that you just get attached to.
Mhm.
And so I understand that part of it, but the actually owning a location is a little bit different. So
Someday maybe.
yeah, I'd love to. I'd
Yeah.
love to. But now now that we've got the history and everything and how she acquired this property and that she's lovingly opened it up to everyone, I want to talk about a little bit of our investigation.
Okay.
So at an event, it's typically you do something as a group and then you split off.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started out in the main front area,
Right.
right, of Sleeper Mortuary in a group, in a circle. And we did have some stuff. It was interesting. We stayed quiet for a bit just to see what we could hear. And I know we were hearing disembodied voices.
Mm-hmm.
We got a few EVPs, not very clear though.
Yeah.
Not enough to be able to share with you.
Right. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing about having a room with that many people is, you hear things, but you're kind of like,
It could have been this or that, right?
And it wasn't clear enough for us to definitively say, okay, no, that was it.
Yeah. But I do remember even being there, like hearing some footsteps.
Oh, yeah.
And we heard a couple child voices. I do remember that very clearly. And we had some EMF candles set out and they were turning them on and off. I remember that.
Right.
So that was pretty interesting, us as a group. And there were several. There's probably, over 20 some people.
God, I think
believe.
that'd be at least that much.
I was like, I just kept thinking about the spirits, like, looking at us all dressed up in your like costumes. I'm like, what is happening here?
Check out these weirdos.
Especially because it's such a new location.
Right.
So these spirits are new to people coming in. So they're like, what is happening?
Right. Yeah. And they had been pretty much left alone for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just to have the sight of us as being the Back to the Future duo was probably enough for them to deal with.
Which was so much fun. It was so much fun to be Marty. But so then we decided to split off. And so the guys, there wasn't many men as there were women. So the guys all just went with Mike.
Right.
And the girls split up into two teams. One went with Erica and one went with Sam. I happened to be in Sam's group. And we, went to different locations in the building because it is huge, like
Very
we've
big.
said before. And so I'll talk about mine and you can talk about any experiences you had.
It won't be much.
I know the guys didn't have as much luck, but we had several things. Like Sam had her dead bell that went off like crazy upstairs in the big living room next to the kitchen. It was just constantly going off. We got lots of EVPs in the morgue room, like the embalming room and stuff, answering, like counting how many people were in there. And Sam's got all those on her DR60, but we got quite a bit of activity. And then even when we were done and we were waiting for you guys to finish, we were standing in that back room where the garage door opens and shuts. And Sam and I were standing closest to the door that goes into like I think it's the flower room. Is that what room that is with the glass?
Yeah.
But that door was shut and the door wiggled. Like we heard the door handle wiggle, because the old door handles.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, because we were standing right there. We had a lot of stuff happen. But the biggest thing, going down into the basement, which is already has the feels.
Yeah,
The basement has the feels. And we had something really strange, at least for me. And I've got these pictures. Sam took these pictures. But there was a few people in the group with us that were seeing the shadow in the back of the basement, which is something common that happens.
Which we did see.
But I was standing there and we were all turned looking that direction. Sam happened to be behind me. So she starts taking pictures because she's trying to capture it. So she takes several in a row. And then we're going to put these up here because it's crazy. So you see the first picture of me just standing there. And then the next couple of pictures after it, it's like something, and I was talking to Tory about this. It's like something walked in front of me and like kind of morphed me almost like you would, take paint and like smear it over like the object. That's
Right.
kind of what it looks like. And it kind of looks like it's taller than me and maybe like a form of a man, possibly. I mean, everybody has their own interpretation,
Sure.
but it's kind of what it looks like. But it definitely is taller than me. And I'm not a very big person.
I was
I'm
gonna
very
say
short.
taller than you.
I know it doesn't take much. However, it's interesting because if it was just the smearing, like if something happened with the camera and it was just messing me up, it would still be the same height. So why was it taller than me? It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We all kind of looked at it and was like, whoa. So we're going to put those up here and you can, see what you think. But it was kind of crazy. And I know people report it a lot in the basement. So that's the first time that's happened to me. It
Yeah,
kind of
that's
gave me
pretty
the
cool.
creeps.
Cool picture.
Yeah.
It's something that even I'm like, it's kind of hard to explain that one away. It's definitely something there. Whether it's motion blur, I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, she wasn't moving though. That's the
Right.
thing. Like she was standing still, just taking several pictures in a row. So why was one picture okay, but the others?
Yeah, tough to say.
That's what is weird about it. Because a lot of the time these pictures are because the light.
Yeah, motion blur or something.
Yeah, somebody's moving something, but she was just not moving at all. It was interesting.
Yeah, I'll let you guys kind of decide on that one.
But your experiences.
Man, the guy struck out. Well, I say that and yes and no, but so we did go to the basement, and in the basement it had all the feels, no question about it. But it was kind of quiet, not a lot happened. A little on Mike's DR60, but nothing to say, oh, that's X or this or that.
Right, yeah.
However, there was this incident where Mike, not Mike and Sam's Mike, but Mike Green, Mike, the other Mike. Anyway, doesn't matter. There was another person there, but they were kind of towards the back end of the kind of like where the stairs come down. That part of the basement, kind of in that back area, and he heard something. And everybody kind of looked that direction. There was no mistaking. We kind of saw like a darkish shadow, and we're like, okay, that was definitely something. Now, of course, I didn't have my camera. We weren't running anything,
I
so
know.
it's just a personal experience. But we did have that. But what's interesting is sometimes it isn't the fact that you get a ton of evidence. Sometimes it's the complete absence. It's like I say they, but it's like the spirits just did not want to speak to us.
Or they were just busy speaking to
Well,
us.
yeah, that
That's
too. Yeah. But it's weird, sometimes you get here, you get there, you get a little bit of, it's like there's like this wall
Yeah.
that stopped us from getting anything. And I kind of think that was honestly on purpose. There was one thing towards the end that Mike said, well, I think it was, if you don't want to talk to us, I think knock or something like that. And we got a knock.
Yeah.
And I think he even came downstairs to talk to Sam about it. And even Sam's like, oh, yeah, they don't want to talk to you. Well, they're too busy talking to you and moving the shadows.
Well, and I do think that especially in these types of events when there's a bunch of people all spread apart, everybody's trying to communicate. And so depending on how many spirits are actually there, they're being pulled in all these different directions. And I totally believe it because we got tons of stuff. Like they were ringing her bell like crazy. And I mean, we were
heard
getting
that. When we came upstairs and you guys when we just kind of switched areas, we audibly heard the dead bell going off. And we're like, what in the F?
Yeah.
We're getting nothing.
Tons of stuff. So they were probably just currently speaking with us and there was no one left over. So sorry guys.
About
that.
It happens.
But that does happen
Yeah.
when you got a lot of people. And, after we were done with that, we had some time on our own where we went to the very front. And so there's a set of spiral stairs that go up to the back of the kitchen, which I have to mention this about the kitchen. Because when I saw the kitchen, if anybody has ever been to Graceland, it reminded me so much of Elvis's kitchen. And it's just
70s kitchen.
Yeah, it's just that time period. But it was even kind of set up and shaped the same way with the wood paneling and the way everything. So much. I was like, it's Elvis's kitchen.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool. But we were in that front room and we kind of were able to shut the door. But, you've got traffic outside.
Yeah.
There were some people leaving. So there was a lot of this that we, couldn't use.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a lot of activity. Like I said, everybody else was trying to do the same thing we
Right.
were. So, but there was something kind of interesting that I'll talk about here. And we were communicating, we were using a recorder, we tried to use Vox, which we got a
Yeah.
couple things. We
A
got to
little bit.
look up. I said look up
Right.
Vox. And we got we were using the Seer app for pictures.
Right.
And that was kind of interesting.
It was. But and it's always those things that it's not that I hate. I really have a hard time just using one thing when it comes to that. Like I said, guys, and you've heard me say this before, whenever we use the GhostTube apps or any of those apps, we're not trying to make it sound like we don't believe in them. That's not it at all. But what we like to do is run a lot of different things in the same time frame during the same investigation offset. Just in case someone says, well, you got that on, an app, and they want to, whatever it is, however you want to narrate that. There's some people that don't really believe in it, but
True,
we
but-
like to have something else to kind of help corroborate.
Well, exactly. Like if you're running two and they kind of like seem to be making sense together, that's even more
Which we've
proof
had
that-
happen.
Yeah, even more proof that maybe these things do work, and then we always like to test that.
Mm-hmm.
Now we were getting information.
Yeah.
And I'm so frustrated because I feel like they were actively trying to tell us something, and
Yeah.
in the moment it's like 2 a.m. We're not getting it, or and when I went back and looked at these pictures, I was like, oh, I interpreted that way wrong, and I have a new theory now.
Yeah.
But we're gonna play just a little bit of these things and kind of talk about some of the other things that we got.
Okay.
Old.
Hmm.
Does that mean you were here a long time ago before this building was here? Like maybe with the land? Like a dying person in the bed?
No.
Oh, being old. Did they bring you here to have your funeral? Did you live in Iowa when you were here?
Maybe not.
What's it showing you?
Water, beach area.
Ocean with a boat,
Mm-hmm.
like a ship. Did you come here from another place? Another country? This was built in the 1800s, I think, Sam said.
Really?
Were you born in another country? And live in another country before you came here?
Not.
No?
Hmm.
Not. Were you a sailor?
I was in the Navy. Were you a sailor?
I know there's been a lot of people here tonight that maybe overwhelmed you. Barbed wire and fire. War, maybe?
Maybe.
War and a ship on the water. Were you alive during World War II?
Well, if you're in a ship and possibly at war, that would most likely be World War II. Did you fight for the Americans in World War II?
They have Marines in World
Lower.
Lower. Lower. Fight. You fight for the Americans, so lower than that.
Injured.
Injured.
Whole.
Hole. Like a foxhole.
So were you in the Army? If you're in a foxhole, it's a good chance you're in the Army. If you were in a hole.
Can you give us your first name? My name's Nicole and this is Logan. We'd love to know your first name.
James.
James?
Is your name James?
What's the picture of?
Not sure what that means.
Moron.
Yeah.
with like the, I can't find this here, those Roman with the not rags, but
Yeah. Well,
Italy maybe?
maybe, yeah. That would be a front in World War II.
Yeah. Did you die in Italy? I mean, that's what it looked like, those Roman, more Roman than Greek.
My death.
My death.
Did you die? Well, I don't know they would have died necessarily,
And they could have died in Italy,
theoretically.
right?
Yeah.
We were on Italian soil, weren't we? Or did we just,
That would have been more. We basically
More
went into
France.
France.
help us understand where you passed away at? You said in a hole you were injured. Can you give us a better idea of what country you were in? Maybe you were fighting the Italians. Were you in Italy or were you in France or Germany? I mean, like, for them to show us Italy. What is that?
It's a red ball.
Japan. The red sun.
Oh.
The red sun.
Did you fight against the Japanese?
Think about this, the flag.
Nobody understands.
Yeah, we're trying to
We're
understand.
trying to understand you.
Basically, EVPs that came off of the ghost tube app. Okay. We were getting some pictures. So let's talk about those first, because I want to kind of go in order here so that it makes more sense.
Sure.
So we got a photo, and we're going to put these up here because you're able to save these with Seer.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a photo, and this may not have anything to do with the person. This could have been someone else. But it was weird that we got a photo with like a dying person, like
It was weird.
person in a bed,
Mm-hmm.
like saying that I died as an older person.
Right.
And then we got a photo of a beach, which I guess I thought in the moment was a ship, but it was actually like a building.
Guys, it was 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
We're exhausted. Okay. It looked like a ship. Why not?
Yeah, in the dark, but it's a photo of a beach, which you can see here.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we got a photo of this sunset.
Mm-hmm.
I said fire, but sunset, like deep red sunset with barbed wire in front of it. I'm like,
interesting.
that's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
picture. And then we started getting the words.
Right.
So we got injured,
Mm-hmm.
whole. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
okay. And then you were getting like a name. You thought of like a name,
Mm-hmm.
James, right? And then we get this picture, which I don't know why I thought this in the moment, but I said something like a Roman or like the Roman headdress, but it looks like slaves. It looks like maybe African slaves.
Right.
And so then we start talking about, okay, I'm thinking about injured, whole, like we start talking about military, like beach. We were talking about
I started to sense something.
military,
Mm-hmm.
but and I'm like, well, maybe like foxhole.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense if they were in a foxhole. That would mean like army. And then we get this slave picture. I'm like, oh, well, where were we in World War II? And so we're starting to like Italy, because I had thought Roman in the moment, but were we in Italy? So we're discussing all these World War II facts
Right.
in the middle of this investigation. And then it says my death.
Yes.
Okay. And then it shows us this photo of this ball, which I think is like a marble like looking thing.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
But then I was like, red circle,
the 0.
Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Japanese flag. And I'm thinking, if this is World War II, are they talking about they were a soldier and, and they maybe got killed over there and they had their funeral there at the mortuary. And so that's kind of what we left with. Right.
Right.
So when we got back and I started doing research, I was just like, I got to figure out, because I figure
they gave us quite a bit of information. And when I went back and looked at the picture, I'm like, no, that's clearly looking like a slave. It looks like
Right.
barbed wire. It looks like a beach. It looks like, I still think the red sun. But I'm thinking more like POW type situation,
Which
right?
made sense. Yeah.
And so I started looking for POW camps that could have been in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 that were on a beach, which I thought, and they were pretty bad, and they were tortured, and they were forced to work like slave labor at a couple of these. One was called, I think, like Niroshima, kind of like Hiroshima, and it's the one that was closest to Hiroshima.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Niroshima, and it literally, pictures of it sits on the beach, and that was one of the worst ones because they were forced to work and do labor and do all these bad things, and a lot of people got tortured and killed. So I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
could that been what they're? I don't know. This is, of course, just us all guessing and trying to put pictures with words together to make something make sense. But I don't know. It was interesting, and I did try to search. It's impossible to figure out POW with not having a name. I even looked at the James thing.
There's a billion. of them.
There's a billion of them. Like, I tried everything, and I couldn't find anyone. So I would love to go back to Sleeper and try to connect with the spirit that was trying to give us some kind of information. And at the end, it's like nobody understands. That was the words we got.
Tough.
And I was like, I'm trying
Yeah.
to understand.
Well, it makes it difficult because, part of what we do is we try to research the history and make sure that everybody's getting a voice. And it's just difficult when we just didn't have the time, and it was just not the time and place for it.
Right.
So I really think we need to go back, and I think we need to have an actual long night where we can sit there and sort of, suss out different things.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely need to spend time in that front room. It'd be nice if people actually talked to the males, because that would have been helpful. But no, I do think
We were more entertaining. I'm
you
sorry.
guys were entertaining. I don't know. We had Mike. We literally had a Jedi with us.
I know. But
And Doc.
Marty McFly,
Well,
what are you going to do?
fair enough.
Now, we're not going to play this for you, but I'm just going to mention some things. So Sam did her Estes session. Like
Right.
we've said before, if you watched her in our Waverly episode, she's amazing at her Estes sessions. So there was something interesting that came out of that. Okay. And the spirit comes in and first they say Lyman's watching, which I thought was interesting. And at the time, I didn't know anything about the history of the place. Lyman was the one that built the mortuary.
Right. Lyman.
So
Lyman's.
Lyman Sleeper. So I was like, that's interesting. But then she says, that talks about the basement. The scary man is down there.
Mm-hmm.
I call him Paul. He's real scary. He's trouble. I don't like him. He runs after me, knocked me down. All of this like right in a row. I was like, ooh, because everybody does feel uncomfortable
Yes,
in the
they do.
basement. And
Yeah.
that they see the shadow, and that's where I got whatever happened in front of me or behind me. So I thought that was a little interesting like tidbit. But the next thing was the spirit came through. My name is David. Like literally out the gate, my name is David. I'm from Paola,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is another town in Kansas where Sleeper Mortuary is. I have friends in Overbrook, and I'm like, so I look up, there is an Overbrook. All these places, Iola, Paola, Overbrook, all within an hour and a half from each other, okay? I was killed in a car accident.
Yeah.
Too much of because we asked how was he, too much of a certain kind of liquid.
Yeah.
My funeral was here. And then I knew some of the guys that lived up here, which, if you remember in the history from the beginning, it turned into like a college co-ed thing. And so I'm like, I wonder if I could figure out who this David person is. I searched. I could not find a David. And I was thinking, though, how could he have had his funeral here? Because at the time, that was no longer a funeral home.
Right.
If he would have known the guys. So what I'm thinking happened is like there were a couple different spirits coming in saying things, which is what happens in these SSH. So you can't take everything in a group setting and be like, okay, this is all just one. There's usually several speaking. But the David thing, killed in a car accident, too much of a certain kind of liquid. I knew some of the guys that lived up here. I was like, maybe I can figure this out. and I couldn't find any David.
Yeah.
But I don't even remember how I did it at this point, but I started searching different ways, putting in different words and ancestry, and I found this article,
Okay.
and it was his middle name, David. Now, this could absolutely not be
Sure.
this spirit. Absolutely could not be. It's the only thing I could find, but this is why it's interesting. His name was Joshua David Bond, okay? And he died in 2006, which around the time this, they would have had the co-ed thing, at age 19. And so he just graduated high school like the May before from a head-on collision on the road. Could it be from alcohol? Maybe. I couldn't find anything saying that he was, under the influence or anything like that. Now, this kid, incidentally, was like a straight A student and on the honor roll in high school. So he's not the typical kid that, but, we don't know.
Yeah.
But he had already graduated. So he would be the age to have known people in college already, maybe a year or two ahead of him that he would have went to high school with. So all that stuff could have made sense, and he died in Iola. So I don't know.
Tough.
It was just kind of interesting that I found a young kid that would have known college kids that had a name David, and he actually did die in a car accident. So I don't know. Could it be this kid? I don't know. But we'll put his information up here. But I just thought it was pretty interesting coming out of that Estes session. I think that's the first time I've ever found anything from one of her Estes sessions.
Yeah. I mean, that's great research.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it could not be that person.
Yeah.
Well,
We never know.
we don't know. But the whole car accident thing and being the right age kind of was like, oh, wow. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what happened for
Yeah.
our small investigation that night. More so than anything, we got to experience Sleeper Mortuary with our friends,
That's right.
have a fun Halloween party, and get to know the building. And now we've got to know Tory, which is great. She's a sweetheart, obviously you can tell. And she's taking care of the building and has opened it up for all of us to go investigate and find out what spirits rest in the mortuary.
Resting in the mortuary.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that, like I said, this was a great investigation. It was a great chance to get to talk to Tory. And there's one other thing we want to say, guys. It is the last episode we have until the holiday season. Whether you celebrate whatever you celebrate, we won't be back until after those days.
After the holidays.
After the holidays. But whatever you do, however you celebrate, happy holidays. And gosh, it's been a long year, but it went fast.
How is it a long year, but it went fast?
I don't know.
How does that work out?
It can be both.
But if you're looking for something to listen to, is one of our favorite episodes that we've ever done with our resident historian, Rissa Miller.
That's right.
And it's the Christmas Cryptids. So you can go back and listen to that or watch it on YouTube, which is kind of fun. It's got some cool, she's got some cool things she likes to show on the screen. It's one of my favorite ones we've ever done. It is so fun to learn about the different cryptids around the world.
Yes.
Some of them are really funny.
It's definitely one of the ones I laughed the hardest at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely go check that out if you need something to listen to in the car on your way to your holiday or wherever it may be. But we will be back. We got some great stuff coming up for next year.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we've already got it in the works, and we're excited to bring it to you.
Absolutely. But normally you say we'll see you next week, but
we'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Bye.